We have one more performer tonight, and it is going to be Wayne Harris. And Wayne is an award-winning solo performer, writer, educator, curriculum innovator, and musician. He was born and raised in St. Louis, Missouri, and his work has often centered on his childhood. So we'll hear some of that tonight as we bring him up on the screen. We still have Ginger there, right? There he is. Yay, so let's give a warm welcome to
All right.
Wayne.
Hey, first of all, I want to say happy 15th
Okay, you're
birthday
fine. You can
to
stay.
Bridget and to Rebecca. You guys are amazing and have been just providing such a great opportunity for storytellers for so many years. I really appreciate that. I also want to give a shout out to all of my friends and family who have been celebrating Pride this month. The story I have to tell you is a friend I'd like to introduce all of you to, another friend, another family member. This piece is called Ronald Ruffin. Oh, my man, I love him so. He'll never know. All my life is just a spare, but I don't care. Even when he holds me in his arms, the world is bright all night. Ronald Ruffin is on a roll, and I just love it. I'm 12 years old. I'm sitting in a basement watching a drag queen show. You never knew what you were going to get from Ronald. It could be a Barbara Streisand trilogy or the entire second act of Funny Girl. My favorite was his chemically dependent divas of the night, Billie Holiday, Judy Garland, and Whitney Houston. What's the difference if I say I'll go away when I know I'll be back on my knees someday? But whatever my man is, I am his forevermore. Girl, Miss Streisand can sing. The girl didn't have no style. You know she got that tugboat scene from me. Mm-hmm. See, girlfriend, she was singing "Don't Rain on My Parade" on a tugboat in the New York harbor, while I was singing "Ain't Nobody Here But Us Chickens" on a barge in the Mississippi. Yeah, this thing just happened to be walking by and she noticed my boy. As I've shared before, from a very young age, I loved marching bands and drum and bugle corps. Loved the sound of drums and brass, and I joined my first drum corps at the age of 8. And most, if not all, of my life's coming of age moments were tied to my experience in one drum corps or another. Now, at the ripe old age of 12, I was a member of the Page Park YMCA Cadets, Drum and Bugle Corps, an all-black corps from the inner city of St. Louis. We were badass, perennial Missouri state champions. Well, there were these guys in the corps. Most of them were in the color guard, and they could spin flags like nobody's business. And they were, to say the least, flamboyant. There was Melvin McGee, our drum major, short little guy, with these bold legs. And he wore these tall black riding boots with his pants stuck in them. He thought it made him look taller. It actually made him seem more bow-legged. And then there was Claude Bennett. We called Claude Juice, this big, dark, and mean-looking dude who would scream like a girl if he saw a bug. Then there was Ronald Craig. Oh, man, how can I forget him? He wore his shirts tied off at the bottom, right? And he would wear the most colorful pants I have ever seen. And then there was Ronald Ruffin, this tall, light-skinned bolt of lightning, 19 years old with these green eyes, who could just break out in Happy Days or Here Again at any moment and light up the room. He was the best marcher I ever had seen. He was the best bugler I ever heard. And he was the first guy I ever saw wear a tiara. He was also our bugle sergeant, and he would organize extra rehearsals for some of us young guys. He had the ability to motivate, and chastise all at the same time, making you want to be better. Come on, Daddy. Don't be holding that horn all droopy. Hold that bugle like you own it, baby, and play it like you got something to say. Ronald Ruffin ran it, and we all ran around in it. Think Robin Williams meets Queen Elizabeth. I'm in the basement of the Ruffin's house, sitting on an old couch surrounded by drapes and beads, bongs, and hair pieces. Ronald had turned the basement into a performance space, kinda. There were poles and rifles, banners everywhere. The water heater and washing machine were hidden by a curtain of flags. Roberta Flack on the stereo, always music. And there was kind of a stage set up with these Christmas lights. One night, I saw Juice lip sync to Aretha Franklin's Respect while wearing a sweater and a mini skirt and spinning a rifle. These huge, hairy legs on top of 6-inch heels. He was pretty good. There were framed pictures all over the place. There were frames without pictures, and we would be sitting in various old couches and chairs set around this very low coffee table. Ronald called it very Taj Mahal. I didn't know what the Taj Mahal was, but I was sure he was right. I'm sitting there wondering, what would my mother think? You see, this was the 60s in Missouri, and the blue laws were still in existence. Some of you might remember the old blue laws, certain sex acts were illegal, mixed marriages were outlawed in certain states. And in Missouri, it was illegal for a man to dress as a woman on any day except Halloween. Now, my mother, a very loving woman, would not understand Ronald's basement. She and most of the congregation of Pleasant Green Missionary Baptist Church were like many Black Baptist church members, highly homophobic. The Black church was and still is, not a welcoming place for alternative lifestyles, closeted in so many ways. I would suggest that some of them go and have a talk with their choir director. Yeah, they might be a little surprised at what they hear. But at 12 years old, I knew Ronald and Juice were different. I mean, we called them funny. They called each other Queen. But it never seemed wrong to me. It just was what it was. I spent more time at the Ruffins than I did at home. Now, it wasn't about Ronald, really. I mean, but believe me, I would have followed Ronald anywhere. But it was about his little sister, Deborah. That's who I wanted to hang around. You see, she was 12 also, and she was the reason I would come over to their house before and after rehearsals just to hang out. I had a crush beyond imagination. I mean, she had these cat-like eyes, and she wore glasses to match. They kind of winked at the edges. I would just sit there, looking at her. Too shy to speak much. Her hair was always brushed back tight into a ponytail. I mean, it was a real clean look. She was real clean. She smelled clean. There was always a card game going on in the basement. Deborah loved to play Whiz. To this day, I could not tell you how to play that game. I could never learn it. I would always just be looking at her. I mean, I was 12, and it was the summer that I realized that girls were kind of, okay. And Deborah represented all of what womanhood had to offer to a young man coming into his own. I mean, she was starting to get tits, just as tits was starting to get to me. I would just look at her. I had no idea girls could be so, something you wanted to be around. Now, I wasn't the only one that hung out at the Ruffins. Lots of us cadets hung out there. There were always some of the other queens were around and older guys from the Corps, and they all treated Deborah like a little sister and me like an appendage of Deborah. But all of us were there. Well, all of us were there either out of sync with our own families or neglected or just needing a place to be. The Ruffins were the type of parents that didn't seem to notice that the house would triple in size at dinner time or not particularly care who was under the covers on the couch on a Sunday morning. Ronald and Deborah's parents were Jean and Thelma. Mrs. Ruffin, she would be feeding us and ordering us around while keeping an eye on her daughter. And Mr. Ruffin, boy, you in my house again? I thought I ran you out of here. And then at some point in time, he would have to pick one of us up over his head just to show us that he could. He did all of this while keeping an eye on his daughter. Now, in the 60s, every year in St. Louis, because of the blue laws stipulating that men could only dress as women one day of the year, there was, on Halloween, Miss Fanny's Ball. This huge drag queen show right downtown at the Kill Auditorium, which was this classic pillared building. I mean, it was where the St. Louis Blues hockey team played. But once a year, there was the ball. And it's still going today. Now it's called the legendary Miss Fanny's Ball. These days, it seems everything and everybody is legendary. The reigning queen, by the way, is the legendary Essence Maserati. But back then, it was this very subversive celebration of beauty and talent that was both reviled and reluctantly respected by the Black community. I mean, there was always a big photo spread in the Black newspaper, the St. Louis Argus. And I remember my mother and sister this, that, and other from the church, they're saying how this was an abomination, as they couldn't take their eyes off the page. St. Louis, Missouri, Southern ignorance all tangled up with religious fervor. Wayne, get my hairpiece over there, baby. Lord knows, I want to thank my Korean sisters for supplying me with such a fine do. Ronald Ruffin is strategically attaching this 3-foot-long, shiny black hairpiece atop an already securely tightened Diane Carroll wig. Juice is running around squealing because his pumps are too tight. Lord, Lord. And Ronald says, girl, you tragic. Them feet ain't fitting in them shoes today or anytime too soon. Better pull out them Converses to cover them size 13s. Oh, shut up, Ronald. If I change my pumps, then I gotta change my dress, and then the color of my nails, and Lord have mercy, I paid $50 for these nails. Things are pretty exciting in the Ruffins' basement. Everyone is getting ready for the ball. I mean, it's just a week away, and Ronald's competing this year. Grazing in the Grass is playing on the stereo, and the queens are running amok. Deborah and I are gophers, right? Finding bobby pins, hair pieces, and foam rubber. I never figured out what the foam rubber was for. Anyway, Ronald will be wearing a full-length red gown, slit down the side, red pumps with 4-inch heels, a simple set of pearls around the neck, and of course a 3-foot-long, shiny black ponytail from the Korean Peninsula. Simple but elegant, he says. And I believe him. Ronald has a plan for the competition. A diva-worthy entrance is what he called it. And I was going to be a part of it. Yeah. You see, Ronald was sure that he could undermine the competition with a demoralizing arrival at the Kill Auditorium. That's what he called it. So imagine this. You see a long black limousine, pulling up to the steps of the auditorium. And then 2 tux-clad men jump out and make a big to-do of opening the door, assisting Ronald out the car and up the stairs to the ball. Ronald said it was going to be memorable. He was very excited about the idea, and he wanted me and Joe Barry to be his 2 tux-clad men. Ronald was sure it would be a hit. I, however, was not so sure. First of all, I did not like Joe Barry. He was one of the other cadets that hung around at the Ruffins, and he too was always looking at Deborah. I also wasn't sure, how I could pull this off without my mother finding out. I was about to reluctantly decline when Deborah said, "Ooh, Wayne, you gonna look so cute in that tux." Sign me up. So yes, this was going to be a memorable Miss Fanny's ball for all of us. Ronald even rented tuxes for us. I had never worn a tux nor been in a limousine. It was a little heady for me, but I would have done anything for Ronald. And Deborah said I looked cute. The night of Miss Fanny's ball was something I will never forget. All of us dressing up in the basement, squeals and music, bongs, and fake eyelashes all over the place. Deborah helped me with my tie and all the buttons. I'd never seen so many buttons. But I really liked having her, standing so close to me. And then we were off. And it was just as Ronald said it would be. A grand arrival at the ball. Ronald in this stunning red gown, enormous eyelashes and pearls, looked great. I remember being so proud, to open the door and reveal my bugle sergeant to the gathering. Ronald looked beautiful. No, Ronald looked magnificent. Cameras flashing off as Joe Barry and I slowly walk Ronald up the stairs to the entrance. We bowed, and then we walked back to the limo. The limo took Joe Barry and I back to the Ruffins, where I kept my tux on, all buttons fastened because, well, Deborah thought I looked cute. There was a big smile on my face, all the way until the next morning, waking up at home on a Sunday morning, no less, and realizing, oh shit, the St. Louis Argus Sunday edition was sitting on our doorstep. No doubt with a full photo spread of last night's Miss Fanny's ball, and no doubt every good sanctified Christian couldn't wait to open the pages for their proper amount of chastising and signifying. And with Ronald's fabulously stage entrance, no doubt there would be a picture of Ronald, Joe Barry, and me ascending the steps of the ball. Oh shit. So I jump out of bed, right? I rush down to the front door to grab the paper before my stepfather can get it, but too late. My mother, she's sitting at the kitchen table with with the Argus paper open wide to the centerfold. Lord have mercy, Wayne, this is a shame before Christ. I stop in my tracks, frozen, imagining a large picture of my transgressions for all to see. But no, it seems as amazing an entrance Ronald had concocted, it was far from the most impressive. There was Miss Pandora Box, who showed up on horseback. There was Miss I Leaned Over, carried Cleopatra style through the doors, and the picture prominently featured in the paper was Peaches Kreitz, who arrived in a fully outfitted horse-drawn Cinderella carriage. I gotta tell you, competition was fierce at Miss Fanny's ball. Thank you.